Hi, we're going to explain a little bit more about the structure of the research camp by answering some questions. So our first question is, how can children do independent research in a group class? Well, some of the class will be done as a group, some of the class will be done independently. So the first hour or hour and a half of the 3-hour class is going to be lectures, discussions, skills workshops, and group discussions. Things done all together, and then the last hour and a half or hour is going to be independent research and writing from the students. Whilst the students are doing their independent research and writing, the teacher will go around and speak to each student individually and make sure that they know what they're doing. So the student will get one-on-one time with the teacher during the independent time. Also, while the students are writing their research papers, the teacher will do real-time editing using Google Docs, making suggestions and correcting the students' work. So every student will get some one-on-one time with the teacher to discuss their individual paper, whilst also getting the benefits of group study.
Our second question is, what will the schedule be for the camp? The camp will be 3 days a week for 3 weeks, so that's 9 sessions in total. Every session will start with a lecture. This lecture will be based on the broad subject that the students in the class are working on. There'll then be a discussion about the content of the lecture afterwards, and a skills workshop where the teacher will go through some important research skills with the students. These skills are important for writing good research papers. There will then be some independent research time, followed by some independent writing time, when, as we said, the teachers will be helping the students one-to-one and doing live editing on Google Docs.
The next question is, what is the end result of a camp like this? So what have students produced in the past? So when we've done research camps like this before, SNT has created very recently an online journal called the SNT Journal of Natural Philosophy. So the online journal is done on a platform called Substack, and it's essentially a platform where different people or groups or organizations can publish their work online, and everyone can access it. So the end result papers that students are going to write will be 1,500 to 3,000 words, depending on the age level and depending on the subject. And then those papers will be published online on the SNT Substack. So everybody can have a look at the students' papers online, and it's really nice for the students to get that end result where they get to see their work published.
Did students enjoy this type of research camp in the past? Yes, absolutely. On all of the research camps we've done, students have really enjoyed working on these. Students get to learn a lot more about their subjects. They get to discuss it with their teachers who know lots about it, and with their fellow students who are also interested. So it's a really fun experience. Students really like reading the research that's going on and being published in real journals about the topics that they're interested in, and they get to have a really fun time writing their own research papers about the subjects that they would like to study.
So our next question is, how will the lectures relate to the students' papers? So we know this is a question because if students are all answering different questions in their research papers, how is it possible to give a lecture that relates to all of the students' papers? Well, the answer is that when you're writing a scientific paper, it's really important to understand the context around your question. So it's not okay to only learn the specific details that are going to be in your question. You also need to understand the whole field of research and what the cutting edge research is of that field. So for example, if you're writing a paper specifically about dark energy, you also need to understand lots of things about quantum physics, astrophysics, and then the field of physics in general. So the lectures every day will be specific to the area of science that every student in that class is studying. So for example, all the students writing about physics will be in one class, all the students writing about economics will be in one class, and then the lectures will be about that topic, specifically covering topics that are relevant to each student's papers on different days, and then also giving students the broader context that they need to write their papers and to understand what research is important to them and what research they should not spend their time reading.
Our next question is, how can you give lectures that are useful to every student? So as we just mentioned, it's really important when you're doing a research paper that you understand the context of the field that you're working in. So every lecture that we give will always be useful to the students, to every student, because it will provide the context and the background information that the students need to understand what they are doing in their specific research paper. Students also enjoy learning about subjects all over their field of interest. So it's both useful and fun for the students.
The next question is, how will my child's work relate to the lectures? So again, this is similar to the other answers. So when you're doing a research paper, you need to understand the whole field of research in that subject. And that's what the background lectures are for. They are to give a broad overview and give some specific details and current cutting-edge research about that field. And it's really important for students to understand the whole field, and that is the way that the child's work is going to relate to the lectures. The other thing is, the point of these research camps is to broaden students' horizons. So even though they're only doing a research paper about one question or one title, it's also really important for them to learn more about the field in general, because in their future lives, they will hopefully do even more research of different areas in that field. So they also need to understand about the field in general, both for this research paper and because hopefully if they're in the physics class, they enjoy physics. So they will enjoy and they will get a lot out of learning about lots of different physics topics.
How can you make sure that students are writing the paper correctly? The first point is that we will be having a research skills session in every day's teaching. So students are going to be learning how to write the paper correctly as we go along. In the later parts of each lesson, there will always be some one-on-one time between the teacher and the student. So we will be able to check that the student is writing the paper correctly. If they're unsure how to structure the paper, or they're making some mistakes in their research, we can correct them and help them to write the paper correctly.
That's the end of our questions. Thank you for listening, everyone, and let us know if you want to know anything else.